So Ela has been launched a year ago, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about like how was it kind of in those earlier days when you were with the team there. You are part of Bank ABC, which is the Arabic Bank Corporation, a traditional bank in Bahrain in the Middle East. And at that time, you and some of the senior executives had the idea about kind of launching a greenfield bank next to the traditional bank. So maybe you can take us back to that moment, like what were the considerations at the time, and what was the founding idea to kind of pull this off?
Sure. To give the audience a bit of background, Arab Banking Corporation, or Bank ABC, like you kindly introduced it, is headquartered in Bahrain, and it's a 40-plus-year-old bank that mainly has done over the years wholesale banking. And when it was established back in the day, it was established to facilitate trade mainly within the Middle East, interregional, and also regionally between the Middle East and other regions. And over the last, I call it 5 years, the bank has been undergoing a complete strategic change in many different buckets. One of the buckets that the board of directors and senior management team at Bank of ABC was very focused on was entering this whole world of fintech. And this is where the journey started for Ella conceptually. It was part of a strategic review that Bank ABC was having, led by the Deputy Group CEO, Mr. Saleh Al-Wa'ri, who spearheaded this strategic review back in 2017. One of the pillars that the bank decided to adopt during the strategic review was retail, and specifically how was Bank ABC going to enter the world of digital banking in sort of a disruptive way. A lot of analysis and sort of benchmarking was done globally, regionally, within the strategic review team at that point that was assembled internally within the bank, me being one of them, reporting directly to the Deputy Group CEO at that point. And what we found, Yuk, is that we had a retail footprint as a bank that was pretty small in Egypt, Jordan, Algeria, Tunisia. However, we felt that at that point of inflection back in 2017, seeing what was going on in the world, that we didn't want to invest more in, let's say, flipping the house, which was taking the old traditional retail footprint that we have and digitizing that. But we felt that what we needed to do is completely establish something new. And at that point in 2017, what we called the project was Bank ABC Neobank at that point. And what we went about is building a case for building a regional challenger bank. Regionally towards building a challenger bank, reasons being the Middle East contains one of the highest penetrations when it comes to smartphones. Secondly, the Middle East contains one of the highest penetrations when it comes to digital consumption of, call it, services, whether it's entertainment, whether it's delivering goods, whether it's ordering goods. That's number two. And number three, there is a huge influx in what I call it the job sector when it comes to the percentages between, call it baby boomers and millennials and Gen Z. And what we felt that there was a huge gap for the Gen Z and millennials when it came to banking services throughout the region. So these were the main reasons and the journey that sort of brought us to launching Ella Bank.
So before we kind of go into kind of the whole rollout and all the future potential, maybe we can go back to that moment where you had to kind of do the actual implementation, right? So you're there, you got the board approval, you go with a modern platform approach. You say, okay, let's build this like an N26 or like a Revolut, but we're going to take our own future in our hands. What were the lessons learned in that kind of initial implementation project?
I think one of the most difficult things that people need to think about for sure when going through this journey, and what I faced personally, is when we got the board approval was, I think, first and foremost, is putting what I think is a believable business plan when it came to how you wanted to monetize this whole journey. That's number one. Did you have the right assumptions when it came to the right revenue drivers, when it came to the right cost drivers, when it came to sort of the timelines of how you were going to implement this. So did you have a believable, call it, business plan?
Yeah.
That's, to me, was the biggest struggle, and was the market research that was conducted at that point, call it, realistic enough, knowing that, as you may know, as having worked with us in this journey, that technology was continuously changing, and competitors were also going through digital transformation journeys, and
Yeah.
there were a lot of unknowns. So that was number one. Number two, I think, was the most, also for me, one of the most challenging pieces, is really creating an MVP, like, that was going to be acceptable enough by the target market. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
secondly, was an MVP that you could build in the right amount of time with the right, I call it, budget.
Yeah.
And that two things always kind of, you know, um, collided, right? Because you wanted to do as much as possible as
Yeah.
an MVP,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you wanted to make sure that from a time and budget perspective, you were within that. And then third, I think, Yuk, which is, I think, something that I personally underestimated at that point, but I think we quickly caught on to it, is you needed to build the right team. And I think one of the things that we did, which really helped us at ILA, having been supported by Bank ABC, is that we created a team that was completely segregated from the mother, call it, company, which was
Yeah.
Bank ABC. So
Yeah.
what we ended up doing is we created a team that was, some of it, personally, like me, was brought in from Bank ABC, but then we also brought in people from the outside, on that have basically done this before. Proud to say that Backbase was one of them, in terms of one of our partners to sort of take us through this journey. And then secondly, we also brought in, call it, more seasoned full-time employees that have gone through digital transformations before. So we built a team, I think, and a culture that was quite mobile, in terms of, yes, they understood what it needed to take to build this bank, but at the same time, there was a little bit of, call it, of the old guard that understood how to position Ella Bank best within the mother company in order for it to go forward. So these were the things, I think, that definitely sort of lessons learned for me.
What can you share about now, a year into the go live, about the commercial success? Because you're an investment banker by background,
Yeah.
you were looking at the business case. It was one of the most difficult parts to kind of get that right or close enough. What can you tell there? Like, how happy are you?
Yeah. I think, Yuk, definitely it's been a remarkable, I'd say, use the word remarkable, since go live. We've last year, I'm very happy and proud to say that we sort of beat all of our KPIs almost 4.5 times in terms of the commercials and business KPIs that we promised the board in year one from
So,
launch.
so wait a moment,
The
4x,
yeah,
four times more,
4x, four and a half x,
four and a
actually,
half
to be
x.
exact.
Wow.
To be exact, and we're very proud of it. Very proud of the team, because I think, really what it behind all of the IT and all of the tech and all of the app and the development is are a team of people, including our partners that spent, I think, sleepless nights at the beginning to really drive the app and the engagement. And then I think, one of the things that I think we really played to our advantage at the really beginning is we were one of the first, I think, banks to really change the way the engagement was being done, in the island in Bahrain, in terms of the banking or financial services. We did not communicate like a traditional bank. I think we communicated like a telecom. We
Yeah.
communicated like a consumer goods company. So
Yeah.
it was a very catered delivery towards what the people wanted. I think people felt that they, within our engagement in terms of social media, marketing, etc., they had a voice, and that really played to our favor. And we created a brand. I think that people in Bahrain are proud, locals, expatriates are so proud to be associated with, because I think it reflects the ambitions, passions, dreams of a lot of people here.
Yeah.
Because I think it is the first, in my opinion, digital brand
Yeah.
that was created in the island with a
Yeah.
global ambition. So
Yeah.
it has a, I call it a Bahraini. I always say this. Ella has a was born in Bahrain, has a Bahraini heart, but it has global ambitions. And I think it was the first digital brand that in Bahrain that really came out with that message. And I think the people, locals and expats, embraced it
Yeah.
because of that. And that really basically played in our commercial success. Because at the end of the day, I believe the commercial success of any um, startup, in my opinion, especially digital, is basically a reflection of how well the brand and the proposition has worked for its customers. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, scaling up this business is about scaling up numbers, and you'll never scale up your customer numbers just by driving marketing,
No, clear.
spend. Not at
No.
all.
No.
It's about making sure that your service is something that people can get value of and can
Yeah.
tangibly get value of and get that. Secondly, it's a customer service or a customer centric oriented offering, which I think we also delivered on.
Yeah.
And then third, I think in terms of the commercial success that we're very proud of, is we have been able to create a story that now is being spoken about regionally. So when we went to Jordan, for example, it was great to find that a lot of the people on the regulatory team, some of the competitive landscape people that we were interviewing knew about Ella and have heard the story of Ella, which was definitely for me personally, having been on this journey since the beginning, a very, very proud and surreal moment because
Yeah.
that's what you wanted to do. You wanted to create something that was going to be built here, accepted in this culture, and then launched regionally.
You say 4.5x. Is that then mostly in your original idea about, cost of acquisition and kind of deposits? Are those the key drivers that
Yeah,
make the business case for you?
for sure. So I think in any sort of when you talk about like scaling up an app, right? Like CAC or cost of acquisition is definitely
Yeah.
one of the main things that I think for the entrepreneurs here on the audience is looked at by the board or any founding stakeholder. And even when it comes to valuation, cost of acquisition is an important metric. And like you said, us having a digital channel and being able to really create, I call it a strong acquisition, call it engine, using digital channels, them being social media, being things like YouTube, Google, etc. We were really able to lower down the initial cost of acquisition that we were talking about. Because when we set about putting numbers in our business plan, the cost of acquisition that we took in all honesty, was just we took the traditional cost of acquisition and said we're going to do 30% better.
Yeah.
But what we've really done is we've done maybe I think 80% better.
Yeah.
So
Unbelievable.
yeah,
Yeah.
in terms of cost of acquisition,
Yeah.
and that goes to not only using the social medium channels,
Yeah.
but also having, I think, which we can talk about too. I'm sure is going to come up. A very, I call it, smooth onboarding process that can be done from anywhere, anytime, using a very limited amount of documentation.
Yeah.
That's also played a big part. In terms of the additional thing when it came to financial success is from a deposit perspective. So that's an important thing. When we built this bank, we looked at the number of customers as being one of our successful metrics, but we also looked at the number of deposits to make this very successful. And luckily, we really did well 4.5 times of what we promised in year one in terms of deposits, which is a very important metric for us because, as you may know, being a subsidiary of a wholesale bank, having a retail deposit gathering engine, which is
Yeah.
Ella, really
Huge.
plays to the yeah has
Yeah,
a
of
huge
course.
benefit to the group
Yeah.
to the group.
Yeah.
So in terms of NSFR ratios, SCR ratios, etc. It's much better on your book having a retail deposit versus a wholesale deposit. So that also played a big part.
said, how much confident are you on the change in the mindset of people, let's say the customers, that typically are used to the traditional branches? In that transition, do you see that how comfortable are they with a digital-only value proposition? Any insights you can share?
So let me give you an insight. I can tell you out of our customers, just doing the math quickly, 0.001, 0.01 show up to what we have is a makeshift service center.
Yeah,
We don't market it to anything. It's for very extreme cases.
yeah,
And maybe zero point zero 0.01 show up, yeah,
yeah.
to on a weekly basis, and it's nothing, yeah. So I'm happy to say that a lot of customers have accepted and
Yeah.
embraced this digital only method. And
Yeah.
I can also share something important is when we went about to build this, a lot of people said your average age is going to be 22 to 24.
Exactly. The same as I was
Yeah,
thinking, like just
yeah,
millennials.
yeah, yeah. No,
All
I
right.
can say definitely not. I'm happy to say that our median age is between 30 to 31. And
Wow.
50% of our customers are between the ages of 29 years old to 40 years old.
Oh, wow. So that is more closer to mainstream. Wow.
Exactly. And these are some of the most active customers when it comes to activity, even not just, oh, I onboarded and I have an account with Ella. No, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm using it. I have my salary being transferred. I'm using it on a daily basis, etc. So that in itself shows, hopefully, the audience too, that
Mhm.
it's it's okay to go only digital. Looking back now, you sort of took me in a time warp, and I have to say, very proud of the partnership that we have here at Bank ABC, Illa, with Backbase, and all that we have achieved so far. Like I said, we're just getting started, right? Bahrain is just a start, like you kindly said. The I think what would be great if we can do this again in 3 years and see how fast do we scale geographically. I think you put it. You packaged this whole discussion in a great way. I couldn't have done it better. And the only thing that I'd add to it, you, because I just say it to the people out there that are doing this and going to do this again, is persistence, dedication, and sort of not giving up on the goal that you set the journey on is so key.